Hi guys, I'm back to do my week in review video. It's kind of a dead week for me. Worked a lot, went to a wedding, didn't have time to read that much or watch that many movies, but I do have only two books that I read this week. First one is this one, Game of Thrones or A Game of Thrones by George R. Martin, which is the first book that I've read on my new Kobo e-reader. Um, yeah, I feel like I still like physical books better, but I bought this thing on a whim, and I had already opened it. I can't return it now. And Kobo gave out a $10 credit to anyone who bought it during that time. So I bought the whole four book set. There's the fifth one just came out, but so I ended up spending $20 of my own money. I do kind of wish I had gotten the physical versions instead, but it was fun to read on this. That was true. It just I miss having the actual physical book to look at and to have on the shelf and have in my collection. I don't know, it feels kind of incomplete just having it on here. I also read N or M by Agatha Christie, which I only just read this morning. It was a very, very quick read. I usually read her books in only a couple of hours, so only two books. And in terms of movies, I saw Deathly Hallows Part 2, which I've already made two videos on, so I really don't think we need another one. And I watched the Game of Thrones HBO TV series. So, that's about it. Let me just get started on my book reviews. I'm gonna start with N or M. That way I can compare the Game of Thrones with the TV version. So N or M by Agatha Christie is the third Tommy and Tuppence novel, and these books are set in real time, so they were like bright young things in the 1920s. Now all of a sudden it's 1941 and the war is going on. They're middle aged, the Secret Service doesn't want them, no one wants them for a job, they're bored. They finally get another detective job where they have to go scope out this hotel for spies. This Tommy and Tuppence, I love Partners in Crime. I love like the comedic short stories in that. Secret Adversary, that was like a spy novel. This is another spy novel, but mixed with kind of the cozy hotel country house setting. It was entertaining enough. I thought the mystery was pretty easy to solve. I did solve it pretty early on. It was not anything special. It was entertaining. If you like Tommy and Tuppence, you're sure to love this one a lot. They're not my favorites. So this book gets a 7 out of 10 for me. Going now to the Game of Thrones, the book on here. This is actually a picture of the box set. If I can find here is the cover of just Game of Thrones. A Game of Thrones by George R. Martin. This is a definitely epic in scale fantasy book set in this world where there's two continents that we know of, Essos, the east, and Westeros, the west. Most of this is set in Westeros, where there are 7 kingdoms. And in this world, the seasons last for years long at a time and can get very extreme. There has just been a 10-year-long summer, but the main characters or the main family of this book, the Starks who live north, their motto is winter is coming, and everyone knows that the summer is soon going to be at an end. It has a lot to do with, the title you can kind of guess, Game of Thrones, with the whole court politics and who is the rightful king and running the kingdoms and all that stuff. There's a little bit of like fantasy and magic thrown in, and it's hinted that it's going to be more and more involving in the later books too. There's also a subplot going on in Essos, the other country, with the character Daenerys, whose family was descended from the earlier deposed king, and so they're exiled there. There are several different point of view characters. Each chapter shifts to a different character's point of view, and you get to see a lot of what's going on through different eyes, so you get to get a more complete vision of the world and what's going on, which I thought was cool. Also, some of those characters are children, which you get to see it through very innocent eyes too. At least in the beginnings, they kind of lose their innocence a little bit as the book goes on, which I thought that was really cool with all of the viewpoints too. It was really, really epic in scale. It is a very gritty book. It's kind of a grittier version of Lord of the Rings, sort of, in that it's an epic fantasy novel. I don't think the story is that similar. Not as much of the fantasy in terms of creatures and crap in this. There's little glimpses of that magic sort of thing to come. There is a lot of graphic stuff, violence definitely up there, sex, including incest and underage stuff like that. It's really pretty intense, and I would not recommend it to anyone under like 14 or 15 years old. It's not appropriate for children, not like Lord of the Rings. The writing style is really simple and engaging to get into, and there are so many characters that you're sure to find at least a couple people that you like. If you don't like one guy or whatever, you're bound to like someone else, because all of the characters, not even just the point of view characters, they're all so different and diverse. There's something there for everyone. It's a highly recommended book if you like this type of genre, and if you're okay with reading some of the kind of squicky scenes. I would definitely recommend it. I would give it probably like a 9 out of 10. Really, really good book. I also just watched the miniseries in the last 2 days, really. I love the miniseries in some ways almost more than the book. It was really, really good. The casting was excellent. It was HBO, so it was a big, high budget affair. Only 10 episodes, but they put so much thought and care into it. They were so faithful to the book. Changed, obviously, some things and cut some stuff out, but you could tell it was made with love and care. Like, they were really, really trying to make this just as epic and wonderful as the book was, and they definitely succeeded. Some of the things I liked better than the book was they aged a lot of the younger characters up, which I agreed with. A lot of the characters who are children in the book are going through some things that it's just really wrong to do, and it's a little bit more believable. It makes you a little bit less squeamish to have them aged up a couple of years. Let's just say that. Anyway, the casting and the acting were all really excellent. It was really great to see it on screen, and great budgeting and costumes and all that stuff. Really good look to it too. One thing that I did not like about the miniseries was the use of all of the gratuitous sex and nudity scenes. I mean, wait, if you have not seen this, you might be shocked that I said there's all this sex and crap in the book, so why am I upset about this? No, there's sex in the book. It's not usually displayed on screen, though. It's kind of talked about after the fact that it happened. It usually serves a purpose in the plot. It furthers the story along. And here, it was just kind of like the important stuff. For example, on screen would be two characters talking. But in the miniseries, they will just happen to be talking in a whorehouse, and we get to see the prostitutes, getting it on and running around naked behind them, for example. Totally gratuitous. Most of it from the male gaze point of view, a little bit of male nudity for the ladies, but not as much. Just I'm not I'm not dissing it for the fact that it has nudity or sex, because obviously the book does too, and it would just be messed up if it didn't. But these gratuitous scenes that add nothing and is just in the background just for fan service, really, really pointless and stupid. So I have to knock it for that. Still, anyway, I both of the book and the miniseries, I would give them both a 9. They're not perfect, but really, really good and really entertaining. If you like, classic or period books about, set in the past, this is kind of like a medieval fantasy type world, so you should really like that. If you like fantasy at all, I would say definitely check it out. Either one. If you don't like to read, watch the miniseries. If you prefer reading, read the book. Do both like I did, because I had to read the book first. I always feel like I have to read something before I watch its adaptation. Both really highly recommended. Go out, read it, and watch it. I cannot wait to read the rest of the series. I need to find out what happens next, and I hope you guys like it too. Okay, that was it for my second week in July review, because it was so short. There just wasn't enough material for me to work with, and I know it's my own fault, but I do have to unfortunately have a life too outside of books and movies. So I'll see you guys in my next video, whenever that is.